Good evening, St. Lucia, and welcome to another episode of What's Happening Now. Have you ever wondered whatever happened to certain people? I mean, certain things happen and poof, people just disappear. When the need for control collides with lust, a lot of bad things happen. Many times over the past year, you would have heard me talk about names such as Gerald Hunt, Giselle Georges, Valerie Lord, Valinda Joseph, and the list goes on and on. But have you ever stopped and wondered, whatever happened to the perpetrators of their murders and their rapes, their killers, their murderers? This past weekend, I came to hear the anguished voice of a survivor, not a victim, a survivor. Her name is Angela Charles. And her daughter, her only daughter, her only child, was Sophia Charles Didier. Do you remember her? Do you even care what happened to her? On the 30th of August 2015, Sophia was brutally wrenched out of a life that she had shared so closely with her mother, being an only child, and sent to the unknown in a manner that you would never, ever wish upon your worst enemy or even the lowliest of animals. Picture this. The year is 1964. A young woman of about 20 years old finds herself pregnant and unmarried. And unlike the romance novels that we read, her lover did not do the chivalrous thing. He did not marry her. And so she was left to bear her child alone. And bear she did. She bore her child and raised her, determined to suffer whatever hardships come her way, as long as her child was protected. You know, there's this song, "If I could, I would protect you from the storms of life," and I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. There's this song, "If I could, I would protect you from all that life has to offer. If I could, I would." And that was Angela's mantra, raising her only daughter, her only child. By all accounts, Sophia was the apple of her mother's eye. And amidst her life here, struggling to raise Sophia on her own, and her subsequent migration to the United Kingdom, Angela did everything for and with Sophia in mind. And as time went by, Sophia did everything for her mother and with her mother in mind. You know, my mom has 4 children. And she's always told us that she raised us with the tools that she had available to her. She watched her own mother raise her own 4 kids. Well, 5. But she watched her mother raise her kids and determined that whatever good habits, whatever good measures, whatever good parenting skills that her own mother used in raising her children, she would use those and add to it. And so she was very protective of us. If she could ever prevent a mosquito from biting us, she would. As a matter of fact, I remember my mother waking up several times during the course of the night, to chase away said mosquitoes, to ensure that our nets were covering us, to ensure that nothing went wrong during the night. She was ever vigilant. And hearing Angela's story, I just pictured her being ever watchful and ever vigilant over her only child. She lived for Sophia. So imagine that fateful morning when that call comes, telling her her only child, the love of her life, the apple of her eye, has met her demise. Not accidentally, not by way of a road accident, but by a deliberate, heinous act wherein a friend entrusted Sophia's life into the hands of a monster. I'm not saying that he knew he was a monster, because I highly doubt that any sane, rational human being would put the lives of someone they considered a friend in any untenable situation wherein that person, said friend, loses their life. And not just innocuously, but brutally, remorselessly, in the most barbaric way that you could ever think of. On Sunday, August 30th, 2015, at around 5 a.m., officers from the Gros Islet police station were dispatched to the Redwy Beach in Gros Islet upon receiving information that a woman had been murdered. Upon arrival, the officers retrieved the body of a female, said female being Sophia Charles Didier. She was 51 years old. Later on, a post-mortem would determine that Sophia died of asphyxiation. The examination also revealed neck trauma and blunt trauma about the body. Her neck apparently had been broken. Shortly after receiving the call through community policing, one man, and I use the term very, very, very loosely, named James Bretney, 38 years old, from Ballata, Babono, was arrested, accused, and charged. He has never been to court. What is the status of Sophia's case, you may be wondering? Well, it's like I said, he's never been to court. This senseless, remorseless brutalization of a woman who lived for her only living parent is sitting on remand at Bordelais as we speak, having never been to court for the barbarous, callous act of murder against Sophia Charles Didier. And I will continue to repeat that name, so I want you to remember it. I want you to add it to the list of names that I mentioned earlier. The Giselle Georges, the Valerie Lords, the Valinda Josephs, the Cheryl Hunts. I want you to remember this one more name. Sophia Charles Didier. A woman who lived for her mother, who is of frail health. It's almost a year. It's 8 months, going on 9 months. And we have heard not a word, not a word, not a word about the fate of James Bretney. Remember that. We're due for a break. When we come back, more on Where Are They Now?
What happens now? You'll get over heartache.
Welcome back to What's Happening Now with Laura. Before the break, we spoke about where are they now? Certain people who've just gone under the radar. And in particular, I spoke about Sophia Charles Didier and her brutalizer, James Bretney, a 38-year-old of Ballata Babonneau, who, I don't understand these people. And sometimes it's after a crime has been committed that we understand the magnitude of the crime that has been committed or had been committed. From all accounts, it's alleged that this was not his first romp around the garden, so to speak. This guy was known by the police, by law enforcement. He had been in trouble before. As a matter of fact, it's alleged that he was out on bail when he committed this dastardly act. And that it was not the first time that he had tried to take advantage of a hapless woman. But you know what, in St. Lucia, nothing is we business until it reaches crisis proportion. And so, it had to take the death, the murder of Sophia Delia Charles Didier for us to sit up and take note and ask ourselves, who really is James Bretney? And if he had done this before, why was he still prowling our streets, our communities, our nation? Why wasn't he dealt with swiftly? Why did the long arm of the law not reach him and deal with him a swift blow that would ensure he never set eyes on another woman, much less touch her or even speak to her? And so where is James Brittany now? Is it that our justice system is so broken that even after witnesses have come forward to report what they saw, even after, through community policing, through eyewitness account, through the quick alerting of the police force, this miscreant was caught in quick time, there still has been no closure for Angela Charles as she continues to mourn the death, the murder of her only daughter, her only child. Can you imagine what that feels like? Can you imagine losing your child, losing one of your children, losing a child, any child, whether born or unborn? The horror, the heartache, the pain, the immense pain that you feel in your gut and in your heart that pervades your entire being. That when you see a mother with her own child, how you must feel the aching loss that you suffer every time Mother's Day comes around, every time her birthday comes around, every time your birthday comes around, every time Christmas, any holiday comes around. When you think of how much you struggled through pointless relationships, through the disappointments of other people in your life, and to have always had this one constant factor in your life, this unconditional love, and to know that now it is no more. No more. No more. Do we care that a daughter of this land that gave us all birth, has been brutally deracinated from the face of this earth? Do we care that it could be one of our own? Do we care that there are monsters roaming our streets whereby we aren't even safe in our homes, at work, or at play? Do we care? Well, we should care. And if we don't, there is something seriously wrong with us. We must care. We have to care. The very fabric of our lives depend on us caring. And holding those responsible accountable for their actions and for delivering swift justice. And every week that I come on this show, I will be talking about one of our fallen sisters or one of our fallen brothers who fell not because of natural causes, but because one of us, one or two amongst us, are monsters. And the onus is on us to help stop them. I have a guest in studio with me this evening, and she's no stranger to the camera. She's no stranger to you, St. Lucia. She's a media personality. She's an entertainer. And she has gone through her share of callous disregard for someone, anyone's personal privacy. My guest this evening is Solange Stanislas. She's going to share with us where she has been, since 2001, I think it was.
2002.
2002, yeah, since she came out with T.C. Brown.
Oh, 2001.
Yeah, 2001 with I Like.
Very
Yeah.
unconventional performance, I guess.
Yes, I mean, on our scene, we had never
Had a
seen
duo.
that kind of, and yeah,
Collaboration
this
stage.
kind of collaboration before, and it worked wonders. I mean, TC was crowned that night.
Yes,
Yes.
he was king
Yes.
of 2011.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that year was also
A
a whirlwind one for you.
very whirlwind, and I think it was a realization of how we humans could, be, and it's one I'll never forget. But I'm just glad that I was able to rise above it in my own time, and hopefully I could stand as an example and a voice for people who are dealing with it now and probably will deal with it later.
I mean, in your case, it wasn't as heinous as the situation I described earlier, where Sophia was actually murdered, and some even postulate raped. And we have no doubt in our minds that this was his intention. But because she put up a fight and he couldn't have her way with her, he had no choice but to kill her because, she's seen his face, she knows who he is, and would possibly talk. But your situation was another kind of rape as well.
Well, before we even continue, I'd like to say good evening to all the listeners, the folks watching right now. Good evening. It's good to be here. And it's a very peculiar topic to begin with, but it's a reality. These incidents happen across the board in St. Lucia, across the world. And, any form of invasion of privacy should never be tolerated. Whether it's, a simple act of going through somebody's phone. A heightened one could be, the fact that you've gone onto their devices, mobile devices, and, make yourself privy to something that they have not willingly shared with you, as well as, taking it on a physical level and, invading that personal space of an individual. It's sad that it's happening, and, whatever has to be done to curtail it, to ensure that it does not happen as frequently as it does, it has to be done. And this is not a St. Lucia I want to hear about. I want a more civil St. Lucia. I want, like everybody else, a safer St. Lucia. I want a St. Lucia that I could freely, roam and, like the old time days, sleep with my windows open.
Yes.
Even the houses.
Forget your door open.
Forget the keys on your door.
Yeah.
Or not even that. When we build our house, we don't build homes anymore. We build, it almost feels like a
Fortresses.
fortress.
Yes. Mini jailhouses.
So yes, it's not a St. Lucia that I want to leave behind for my daughter. I want a simply beautiful, or at least a more simply beautiful St. Lucia, because it is still beautiful compared to what's out there. But it doesn't mean that we have to get to what's out there.
So since that time, what have you been up to? Where have you been, Solange?
I've been all over. To London to see the Queen. I was privy to, be on Pall Mall to witness her come down, and go to Buckingham Palace. I've traveled quite extensively, Asia, Southeast Asia, Australia, the US.
These are
the
places
Caribbean.
most of us St. Lucians cannot even conceive in our minds, Solange. So how is it? Were you running away, or were you just living your life as you deemed that you should be able to live your life?
I think for those who know me, and for my very dear and closest friends, they know I don't run away. I never run away, and I never will run away. If I do something, or if something has been done, I face it, I deal with it. And when the time is right, I will either walk away from it or resign myself to the fact that I am defeated. So I wasn't necessarily running away. I allowed that event to happen. I watched it go full circle for a year. I entertained, I engaged, and I took in all what was said and all how I was treated. And I grew from that. And 2 days or maybe a week to the date of the event happening to me, I decided, okay, it was a year. It's time for a new adventure. So I packed up and I went over to the UK. And I went over to get some studying done. And during that time, I fell pregnant with my daughter. And I decided to return home because clean air, good food, my family, my friends. And at that time, there was a transition in the loop to Southeast Asia. So I knew that to wait out for the actual decision to be made, I come back home, and I did, and I loved it. I think those who saw me then saw I was walking bare feet, I was eating my watermelon, I was pregnant, and I was glowing, and I was so
I think
happy.
in those times, Solange, you brought a little bit of stardom, because I remember clearly when you were pregnant with your daughter, and I think you were doing a stint at one of the
Rhythm
radios,
FM, yes.
right? And you shared that experience with
every
your listeners. You know, you had call-in programs
to name her.
Yes.
To name her. I told him about what I was feeling, how it felt. I was very open about this experience because not many people have the blessing of being a mom. And those who are moms literally want to share their experiences. And I was very open to learning, very open to sharing, as you could tell from my social media platforms. I wanted it to be a St. Lucian baby. And it turned out to be a St. Lucian baby. Trinity, my 10-year-old daughter, she is everything to me. She is everything and everything to me. I love her dearly, and she, coming into my life, has changed me as a person. It has taught me a lot of lessons. I could tell you there are some days when it's loud. It's guerrilla warfare. But there are some days when it's such a joy to be a mom. I get to be a kid again, and I have an excuse, a reason, a legitimate reason why. I get to just be young again and cling on to that little shred of youth that I still have.
Yes.
So yes, I live vicariously through my daughter, and you know, I enjoy it, and she's taught me so much, and she will teach me a lot, because there are days when it's loud and she's like, but Mom, you don't have to talk to me like that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have to talk to you like that because you are smarter than I thought you were.
Yeah, and for me, when I look at you, Solange, and I hear you share your experiences of motherhood with us, you know, it's joyous, and I'm happy for that. I love that. I mean, I love kids. I've never been fortunate enough to be a mother, but when I hear moms like you know, go through that, and knowing how scary it is, how big and bad the world is out there, it really is terrifying. And I'm glad that you have been able to tap into that joy and to not, despite knowing what you know, yes, knowing what you know, because you're in the media, so you know what it's like out there when we get those reports, and you just want to run home, I'm sure, and to hold on to them, you know.
When my daughter was born, and I remember clearly when I was on the operating table, the first thing I did when they placed her in my hands, I gave her back to the Creator. I said, God, I bring her back to you as a sacrifice. And I had to resign myself to the fact that there may be a day, and I say there may be a day, I have to accept that she's human. And there is a possibility that I could lose her. And death is a subject, and my daughter is listening, and she knows that. Death is a subject that I've never shied away from and share with her. I remember one time, and I would mention the child's name just because I know her mommy's listening as well. She was in the back sitting with a friend of ours called Renee. And the way I explained death to my daughter was through The Lion King, because she loved The Lion King. And we had a chance to go see it in the Lyric Theatre in London all the time. And I said to her, Trinity, remember the time when Simba's dad fell in the gorge and he went down and he never came back? It's because he died at that time. And Simba was very sad. And she and Renee were in the back of the car, and I'm driving, and the two of them are having this, I would call it, this kiddie conversation about dying. And all of a sudden, Trinity's explaining to her friend what death is with the exact scenario that I told her about. Do you know Simba in The Lion King? Well, his father died and he fell. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And I speak to her every day. When I leave, I think she's home right now. And when I left, the last thing I always tell my daughter is, I love you.
And a lot of us don't do that enough.
And because I don't know if I'm coming back, and I don't know if I'm going back to her. So I always tell her I love her. And when I think of this big, wondrous, but oh so bad world out there, I pray that it gets better.
And you said this thing about when you leave, you're not sure if you're coming back to her.
It's a reality.
Or if when you come back,
Yeah.
she will be just as you left her.
Yeah.
And it brought to mind Cherise Benoit,
Yeah.
this young, vibrant young woman at the cusp of her life. And same thing with her mom. Loved her to bits. Left home, went to work and came back.
Yeah.
And she was taken away from her. And so, you know, you have to balance those things.
I think the reality of it is, whether it's a child, it could be a relative, it could be a friend. I think the fact that we're human, we never know when the journey is going to end. So we have to resign ourselves to the fact that every moment is precious, and every time you leave your loved ones, you leave them with some sort of positivity. And I do that every day. And, you know, to the moms who've lost their children, nothing, and I've imagined myself in that situation because I try to prepare. And my friends tell me, Solange, you cannot prepare for these things. But I've imagined myself in these situations, and I've cried, and my poor daughter is there crying. She's like, Mom, but she doesn't understand the depth of that loss. And I will not understand it. Maybe if it happens, I probably will go through it. But as a mom, I cannot even imagine what it's like. But it's nothing that I would pray on any mother, you know, and it's just sad that it's happening over and over and over without any kind of systematic way of accurately dealing with it.
Absolutely.
You know, and this is all we seek as a society, is not necessarily a total fix, because we cannot control the actions of people and we cannot control the way they've plotted it, because the minds of these individuals work differently to
That's right.
ours.
That's
We could
right.
only try to plan ahead. But when it does happen, what we want is some sort of a proper way to deal with it.
Get
in
some
order for us to
closure.
get some closure,
Right.
a balance, or some kind of resolve,
Yeah.
you know. And whoever is responsible, it's about dialogue, communication, enacting laws, amending them,
Enforcing.
them, and having the community approach towards dealing with that kind of problem in society.
Absolutely. And we would note that in this case that I described earlier, it was through community participation that the perpetrator was caught.
Yeah.
And is sitting behind bars. But it needs to go further. The justice system is broken. It needs to be fixed. He needs to have his day in court. I mean, the mom needs closure. And I will be subscribing to that. I will be asking, and I will be lending my voice to every mom who has to go through that. I never want to go through it. And so it's not necessarily an altruistic motive here for me. I never want to go through it. And I never want to see somebody that I'm close to, that I love, go through that.
I think
So
we
it's
all-
hard enough when it's somebody you don't know,
Or
but
somebody you know.
but it's even worse when
doesn't-
it's somebody you know.
Somebody you know, and it doesn't mean that the person may be close to you, because it happens to people that we know of. It could be a cousin of a cousin of a friend.
Right, exactly.
Or it could be a neighbor of a neighbor of a neighbor. Either way, when the news gets back to you and you could relate to it in whichever way you have to, it's never a good story to have as part of our history and the history of the people of St. Lucia.
Certainly.
And, you know, again, you know, as human beings, if there's one thing I could say that we've lost or we are losing, it's our humanity.
Absolutely.
As human beings, we are
Absolutely.
slowly losing our humanity. The caring, the respect, and the regard for another life. And this year, I decided to come to the arena to lend a voice to that.
Yes. We absolutely, you know, we got so, and motherhood is
how impassioned you are.
Yes, absolutely. Well, for me, it's always about the babies and the children and the ones that came before us and the ones who are coming after us. So for me, I mean, I could spend an entire year, an entire eternity and never get done with this subject. But more so, we're talking about you and where you have been and what you've gone through. So we've talked about your motherhood, and now you're back in St. Lucia full time, and you're doing your thing back on radio, where you've always been in one way or another.
It's home. I love what I do, and no matter what I do, I love doing it. Whether it's cooking gourmet backs, for those of you on my social media,
gourmet backs. And yes. What is gourmet backs?
Gourmet backs is, people have this notion that chicken backs is for, I wouldn't call it poor people, because I always tell people, unless St. Lucia run out of food, we ain't poor.
Right.
Because there are mango trees, breadfruit trees, green figs, dashing, plantain, budja. For those of you who've never heard of it, there is even the whole kalu combination, whether it's a dumpling or whatever.
The whole bouillon experience.
We ain't poor yet. But they have this stigma where those at the bottom of the pyramid, the social pyramid in St. Lucia, they're the ones, eating chicken backs. They say those at the top tier of the pyramid give it to their dogs. But I say, chicken backs is a gourmet meal. So I went over, I was cooking with Trinity, and she said, Mommy, can I help you? She went into the fridge and we had, an eggplant. Then we got onions, then we got garlic, then we got okra, then we got all of the ingredients. So I was like, wow, this smells good. We chopped it up, I blogged it, and the comments on that particular post was just invigorating. It was just like, wow, I never knew Lucian. Well, I knew, but Lucians really like their backs.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of blogging, you have your own blog. You have a blog now.
Yes, I have a blog.
Solange Rocks.
Solange Rocks.
Tell us about that.
Solange Rocks is set up to highlight and to feature all my experiences. I have so many photographs, so many videos that I have not even posted. I've traveled extensively and I've, captured those moments. And it's an opportunity for me to share them from my perspective. What I do, I take St. Lucian products and, I travel with them and I enjoy them in those spaces. So for me, it's about rocking, making sure no matter where I go, it rocks,
Right.
I would meet people, talk about St. Lucia, and try to at least create some sort of connection with them in that particular geography, and sell my island. Because no matter where I go, I am St. Lucian.
Right.
From my walk to my talk to my laugh to my sense of humor to the fact that I will carry my little guava cheese with me and my tamarind balls and my tablet and my shandy. I was about endorsing a particular brand.
Yeah. No, we don't do endorsements because like Alan Shasta says, we need to hear some ching ching chang, up in here. So,
but so what I do, I literally try to rock where I go, and who knows, you never know who you meet.
Yeah.
And I want to share my island with people, and I love St. Lucia so bad. No matter where I go, the journey always ends here.
So at the top of the segment, we talked about you and T.C. Brown in that epic win.
That was
I'm
a quarter king, technically.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm a quarter king.
You're right. But now you're back on the entertainment scene and you're doing your own thing solo. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got back into being on stage in the Calypso arena.
I think more importantly, there's something we call the itch. And no matter what you do, you could be a seamstress, you could be somebody who's a painter, you could be an electrician. Even if you dabble in other things, the itch always comes back because it's a natural thing, something that is almost in your DNA, and it shadows you. And the itch was there. As soon as I landed, I was like, okay, what's next? I got the opportunity to come back into radio. I am in radio, and you network again. And there's certain voices that came into my ears and say, hey, Solange, you're going to be on the Calypso scene this year, and blah, blah, blah. It'll be nice to have you back. And I was like, okay, I'll think about it. And I did. And I contacted a particular writer. And I was like, okay, I'm here. Check me out.
Work out a little something.
So my writer decided, okay, what do you want to do? So I was like, I gave him a few ideas. And he went over and he did what he had to do. And he called me and he's like, done. So I was like, great, what it's about?
And I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with the one that I heard 1st that I thought was, oh, that's amazing, and which actually gave me the idea to do this show, the series that I'm going to be doing. Where Are They Now? It's called Disappearing Act, and I must say it was a different of a kind of a performance for a tent, you know. And then you just you did your little disappearing act and poof, you know. So tell us a little bit about Disappearing Act.
Disappearing Act. Again, through my daughter. My daughter has this, magician set. She has this little magician gift she got, and she learned how to do certain magic tricks. I was like, well, that'd be cool. And I see her play with it all the time, and I was like, okay, great. I've never seen anybody talk about that kind of thing. And when you look at our society today, there's so many things that is uniquely St. Lucian that is just being lost. It's being shelved, and we're losing that. And I was like, you know what? There are lots of things in St. Lucia that are disappearing. And we decided to start the song with that approach. And the first line in the song, it says, this place is like a circus. Is this the new Las Vegas? Because when you go to Las Vegas, it's all about the show, right?
Yeah.
And all the magic tricks and the magicians, and that's where you go, David Blaine and all the big time magicians. And I was like, okay, there's so many things that are going away in society, our morals, our humanity, respect, things traditionally St. Lucian. We don't drink as much bush tea as we used to drink when our grandmothers were around. You don't see people, planting flowers anymore around their home. They build their houses and it's close to the pegs.
Yes.
You don't leave room
And if there's
for
any
the
yard,
garden.
it's concrete.
Concrete.
Because nobody wants to be out there mowing lawn and tilling the earth.
And even so, the houses that we build are not reflective of what it used to be, our history. Everything is so concrete. It's almost like this concrete jungle that we are preparing to build. So I took it from that standpoint and I said, okay, go with it. And then he came back and he wrote it, he just masterly wrote it. And, the chorus says, this has to be a show, and it's a show because when you look at it, we act in a way that is so foreign, I always tell people, I've traveled a lot, I've lived in many places, but you see my accent, that Lucian accent, those who know me, that Lucian accent, they're going nowhere. It stays with me. When I dialogue with people, depending on where they're from, it kind of rubs off because, you have that kind of relationship. But I will try, and I try as I may, I will never lose that accent. And that is one thing uniquely St. Lucian that will never disappear from me. So, again, it's a show because we want to show people that we are this and we are that, and we put on accents, we put on mannerisms, we dress a certain way, or we act a certain way.
We forget our Lucianness.
We are diluting it, and soon it will be gone.
Yeah.
So this has to be a show. In real life, we are so.
Yeah.
Where did the good things go? All the good things that made us St. Lucian. We'd sit. Growing up, I'd see my grandmother with her neighbor, and they'd be sitting and talking, and they're laughing, and they're speaking their Creole, and I have to go bring cocoa tea for my neighbor.
The simple life.
Yes.
The simple life where community meant something. And when having a neighbor was like having a good neighbor was like having a treasure. Even when you had a bad neighbor who would bad talk you, You'd
still send Christmas cake for her.
Exactly. The Lucianness is gone. Then you have the other one now. What was the story behind this one? Why You Don't Like Me Now?
Why You Don't Like Me Now? A very important question. And when we speak of questions, we go back to our responsibility first as citizens, and then we go to our respective jobs. And me being in the media, or at least managing a media house now, the pressure is on you in order for you to give out information that is unbiased, responsible, clear, and, in a way, honest to the people of St. Lucia. It's our responsibility to inform the nation. And this particular song lends a voice to press freedom. I hope that the journalists or the media workers, quote unquote, or the press, quote unquote. And I say quote unquote because a lot of people have labeled us so many different
Right.
names. And, you know, I hope that they could take it as their song, our song. This is our anthem.
chant, yes,
This is
yeah,
our
the
anthem
anthem.
for 2016, the suppression of our press freedom. We have a right and a responsibility in a democratic society to engage, to inform, and to allow the stories that matter, the stories that are important to reach the people. We have to ensure that we are right on ensuring that there is a watchdog on power.
Absolutely.
And I say watchdog on power because, as you know, all around the world, the press is now being censored, they're being monitored, information is being blocked, and we have to be able to disseminate it to the people.
And St. Lucia has not missed that boat at all.
Yeah.
We never seem to miss the bad boats. We miss the good boats, but we rarely ever miss the bad boats. And I mean, in the last couple of years, we've had a number of cases where media workers have been censored and then sued and given a moratorium or told
Yeah.
in no uncertain terms how to discuss certain things. And I go back to the preamble and the situation. I mean, earlier this year, a certain media house or two were asked
To apologize.
to not just to apologize, but they were even told how to report on rape. I'm going as far as to say we're not going to be reporting on rape, and even if we do report on rape, we're going to be very careful how we do that. And so, whom are you protecting, and what is your priority, your main purpose for existence? What's your core business?
I think, and it's important to understand with the digitization of media now, you know, there's so many platforms and so many voices now that are able to disseminate the information. Even if you go after the media houses, there are people that are out there who have access to the stories when they happen, that it almost is a free-for-all. And when we have the story out there as a free-for-all, it's our responsibility now to ensure that based on all what's out there, that we as media houses and as journalists, whether we are independent or not, we accurately disseminate our version of that information. So, you know, right now, the press is social media. Everybody's on social media.
Absolutely.
There are different platforms, different tools. It's like, I always tell people the international press is everybody. Because almost everybody has a smartphone.
Has a smartphone with a camera, with a
video.
recording device, you know.
Exactly. So I think legitimate media houses, the responsibility lie in ensuring that the information that is disseminated to the public is responsible, is clear, is accurate, is well researched, and it's not biased, not necessarily controlled.
That's right.
And I think that's what is very important when it comes to information, is the fact that it should not be controlled for agenda. And the people deserve to know every angle in order for them now to make their informed decisions. And I refuse to believe that we are supposed to be subjected to that kind of scrutiny, especially if the public want us to ask the questions, want us to give them that information. And a lot of stories have gone under the carpet, gone under the rug because of agenda.
Absolutely.
So I from that standpoint, it's important to ask the questions. It's important that people remain wanting to know. And it's important, most important, that we remain interested in what's going on in the country.
Absolutely. We're due for a break. When we come back, we'll have more discussions with my guest, Solange Stanislas, and it will be your turn to join in and rap with us. Stay tuned. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
you'll get over heartache.
Welcome back to What's Happening Now with me, Laura, and my guest, Solange. I had a senior moment there, you know, I'm getting older. I had a senior moment there, Solange Stanislas. She's a media personality and an entertainer, and she's been back on the scene doing her thing in the Calypso arena. And Solange, I just want to go back to the second song we were talking about before the break, Why You Don't Like Me Now. And to me, when I look at the words of the song, let's just walk through that, you know. I despise corruption just like you, still want good governance just like you. I hate defamation just like you. I do like you did, said something stupid, why you don't like me now? Talk to us about that.
Oh dear, the chorus, it's a very unique chorus. It says, I still love this country just like you, yes. I despise corruption just like you. Can't stand defamation just like you. It's a chorus that reflects what we innately want, or what we as, you know, St. Lucians and specific, of course, you know, people in the media, we seek that as well. And, you know, a particular situation lent itself for that particular statement to be made. You know, again, there are certain media personalities that are out there facing legal action, or at least they've been served, and some of the cases are still, you know, pending. They are, some of them have been resolved through whatever form of, how do you call it, respite that was given or handed. And, you know, the fact remains that we have the right to ask questions. We have the right to seek knowledge. And we have the right to remain interested. And if you try to suppress that, especially when we want to disseminate it to the people, if you try to suppress that, it's still an invasion. It's still a form of press suppression, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech, it's all relative, but freedom of speech, I think Barack Obama made a very important quote, or at least have an important quote that I read earlier on, and I fell in love with that quote as somebody in media. And he said it, he says, and I'm going through my phone just because I want to get it verbatim. He says, we have to uphold a free press and freedom of speech, because in the end, lies and misinformation are no match for the truth. Absolutely. And, you know, that stuck with me. You know, whenever I'm on radio or I'm on air, I try to be as honest as possible. And I am honest in my experiences, because there's nothing wrong with saying I fell down on the street or I'm human. And I hope that's the relatability factor that I bring to my job and to who I am. But with this one, it says the journalist code is to spread the word. The journalist code is to spread the word without fear or favor. Though we
and I'm noticing some little digs here, you know, and I hope we're not like the Americans up in here, but I noticed a few digs here. Let's just go through them rather quickly, because the calls, we have to open the lines shortly. You said you used to call me.
You used to call me
comrade and patriot.
Comrade and patriot.
Like then opposition, you shared my vision, country above all else. So what? But like since our party get in, got a post, blood get close to your skin. The same reporter you once called brother want to sue me for doing what's right, bringing the truth to light.
You know, and I mean I've seen a lot of, you know, clips on certain stories, and one of the more important things that was said is the fact that we have the right to ask. There's nothing wrong in asking certain questions.
That's right.
Why do you want to suppress me asking questions?
Right. Because it's only by asking questions that you can enlighten me to your way of thinking. So if you said something, I may think it's stupid, but it's not until I ask a question that I'm going to know if it's stupid. It's like our government. It's only by asking questions of them do we keep them honest and do we keep them accountable for the things that they do on our behalf. So if you're doing it on my behalf, why should I not be able to ask you questions? Then you say again, the journalist code.
The journalist code.
is to spread the word without fear or favor, though you hear news spin can be misleading. You of all should know better. I remember when you couldn't shut up. You were resolute, saying things straight up. Why you attack me when you just like me? If you call yourself reporter, I feel like Christ at the Last Supper.
I feel betrayed.
Yeah.
I feel betrayed because, again, the journalist code is to spread the word.
That's right.
Without fear or favor. Now, if without fear or favor is the operative line in there, because this is what we do. Okay, we shouldn't be afraid of finding the truth.
That's right.
Right? If I'm being suppressed, if I'm being marginalized because I am now seeking answers to questions that are important to the story, what's the point of calling it democracy?
Right.
St. Lucia is a democracy and hopefully will remain a democracy. So, again, keeping our people informed of the stories that matter, the stories that are relatable, the stories that could lead to help change and amend and improve our laws and legislation. You know, keeping them informed.
Now I'm going to ask you a question and then we're going to open the lines, and while we wait for the calls, we're going to answer the question. Do you think it's wise that in government, you know, like there's the press secretary, and that we pull out of the media practitioners to serve as press secretaries when their primary goal is to bring the truth to light, you know, bring the truth to light, and then we take them out of that mold
That role, yeah.
that they've become accustomed to, or that people get accustomed to them being in, and then put them in government. And so obviously you're on the other side of the fence.
It's a very touchy.
But before you answer, just remember, St. Lucia, the lines are open now. You can call in 4519788, or you can send me your emails at laurajapier@gmail.com, or send me your WhatsApp messages at 284-6536. That's 284-6536, or you can send us your emails at laurajapier@gmail.com, or give us a call 4519788. The lines are now open.
You know, I think I will trust. It's a very sensitive question, but I will trust the reporters who've, you know, had the role of, you know, the certain profiles that you mentioned here. I would trust that they've operated professionally. And I remember one particular individual spoke of the late Sir John Compton, saying that when he came into power one time, you know, certain people thought they had to automatically resign. And he went to them and said, no, you don't have to resign, you don't have to leave, because I trust in your ability to contribute to the nation. And he said to them, you know, he gives them the opportunity to stay or to leave if they want to. If they stay, he expects them to operate professionally.
Right.
But if they leave on their own accord. And throughout history, in St. Lucia, we've seen that those same individuals have been able to operate professionally, irrespective of color or party or whatever. So I'll trust that those media personalities who've actually lent themselves to being in a different role to that of operating as press secretaries or any kind of communication officer with a particular party, I will expect, or I will actually hope, and I'm going to only think positively on that. I would hope that they have indeed served professionally and put the interest of the country first. So I'm going to trust in that based on what's happened over time.
Wonderful. We have our first email here. It goes, Dear Laura, on the matter of worrying crime situation in St. Lucia, I feel confident that now that Hermangild Francis is our new Minister of Security, the no-nonsense, energetic, experienced, qualified, talented law enforcement official that he is, wow, that was a mouthful, and a man who is certainly no square peg, that we will begin to see real progress with the management of our crime and criminals in our country. All the best with your program. Thank you so much. And I spoke with, actually, incidentally, I spoke with Mr. Hermangild Francis this morning, and with the promise he's going to be here. He's going to talk to us a little bit about law enforcement and the justice system and how he intends to help mend that broken justice system that we have, and to help expedite some of these cases, like the one that I spoke about earlier with James Bretney. You know, it's not enough that he has been caught, he's been apprehended, and he's on remand. We need the closure for the family members and the friends who are left behind. These are the real survivors. You know, when we talk about survivors, we don't always talk, we often only talk about those persons who've had a crime directly perpetrated against them. But survivors are also the friends and family members of those who are left behind. Okay, so you've been killed, the person has been killed. But what about the mom and the dad, the sisters, the brothers, the children, the husbands and the wives that are left behind with the memory?
It's such a, I mean, I could go back to my song, Disappearing Act, you know, and it says, culprits who rape and hurt us, it's like they vanish before us. The reason why I say this, they often elude justice. People just disappear, then found dead somewhere. That never used to be, not in my country. I take this.
We have a call.
We have a caller,
yes, we have a call. Thank you for holding. What's happening? Hello. Okay, so we lost that call. But keep calling. This conversation is very important, and we want to hear from you as well. The number is 451-9788, or you can send us your emails at laurajapier@gmail.com. We have another call online. Thank you for calling.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, what's up?
Good evening.
How are you, Solange?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. As a little girl, I've always admired you, and I've always looked up to you because you will always be it girl in the media. And today, I am a media practitioner myself, and you are one of those women who inspired me. I see that you're still doing your thing, and it's very important that you show women like myself and even those who are growing up to be just like us, that you just have to keep going and keep pushing. And I just want to say that I appreciate you for doing that, and it's very admirable that you are able to be consistent in your craft and that you do it wonderfully.
Wow.
Something that I saw growing up as a little girl is an unfortunate incident that happened with you. I don't think I have to say it, but we know what we're talking about. And I didn't understand it as a child. But growing up and with my interest with women and with helping young women, I never heard anything from you, and I never heard you directly address that topic. And I know that you're singing, and you know music is very powerful. Is it something that you think you will address one day, maybe to help especially those young people who are going through it now? We have seen you gracefully wear your hood, and we have seen you in a beautiful way move past such a bad experience at a time, but you know it's just an experience. And so do you think you would ever address that in your music, and how has that helped shape you as a woman today?
Wow. What's your name, please?
Oh, we lost the call.
Know who she was. Please, wherever you are, just send me a Facebook message. I would love to keep in contact with you. I absolutely love her. I don't know who she is, but I love her. I love her already. Her voice, her personality over the phone. It was an automatic, it could have been an automatic thing to do to address what I went through. But I didn't want to be ordinary. I didn't want to do what people expected.
You're nothing if not extraordinary. There's nothing ordinary about you. But we have another call online, so yes.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. What's happening now?
Hello.
Hello.
Good night.
Yes, good night.
Good
Go ahead
night.
with your contribution.
Hi. Hello.
Are you on?
Yes, I am here.
Yes, go ahead. Okay, you know what? If you turn down the volume of your television, then you can hear us through the phone, and then you wouldn't be listening to us on the television because there's going to be a delay.
Okay.
Just turn it down and come back to us.
Well, I'm calling for the very first time.
Hi.
Thank you.
I like your show very much. I find that it's a very nice show, and I like the topic that you all give. And as a student, well, from one student, yeah, I find it's a very good show.
Thank you so much.
Where are you calling from?
Sufre.
Oh, wow.
Sufre, wow. Thank you so much for taking the time to call. And, you know, what's your name?
Miracle.
Miracle.
Miracle. There you go. I think tonight's going to be a miracle show. It's going to be a miracle night.
Thank you so much. You're a Form 1 student, and you know you are at the start of an amazing 5-year journey. And if I think back of when I was a Form 1 student myself, it was a time when I was curious, I was troublesome, I got to meet new friends, but it was also the start of the rest of my educational journey. So enjoy your first year. It's going to be an amazing year because you're going to learn a lot. But most importantly, you're going to have to define a discipline plan for yourself so you do not waste the 5 years that you're facing, and you could come out more enlightened. You could come out with a certain level of success for your education, and you could come out a better individual to hopefully contribute to society. I speak to young people all the time, and I sometimes just stop them on the street in groups when they are in groups, and I try to tell them these 5 years are the foundation years for the rest of your adult life. Whatever you do now will reflect in 5 years the hard work, the dedication, the discipline that you put in your work. I do not know you, I don't know what your situation is. I'm sure your parents probably work very hard to try to make sure that you go to school. The one advice I will give you is to dream big and work hard, and work when your friends are playing, smile when they're smiling, but most importantly, never stop working hard. You could be anything you want to be, even if you're from St. Lucia, even if you're from Soufriere. People may laugh at the way you speak, they may laugh at the way you look, they may give you, or at least tell you things that you may not believe in yourself, but I could tell you this: if you dream big and if you work hard, just tell yourself, I'm going to work hard for 5 years to be successful. 5 years is nothing in your lifetime. Work hard and read anything, a newspaper, magazine, a flyer. Read and be curious, ask questions. My favorite teacher always says, ask the stupid questions and I'm going to make you the smartest person on earth. Ask the questions, ask your teachers, challenge them, come with your ideas, and contribute to yourself and your society. That's all I have to give. You're Form 1. I wish I was in Form 1 because I was going to take everything that I know and apply it now.
Yeah. And there's nothing I can add to that, Miracle, except that you go out there, girl, and become a leader. We need, it's not a matter of wanting at this point. We need you. We need your generation to become leaders for our future. So
remember, you
Thank
are
you very
generation
much.
next.
yes. You have a good one.
Okay.
Good night.
You're welcome.
Nice.
Wow, it's-
I like when I get those calls, and I mean, you said it all. Like I was just like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna give you your own segment. There's
mean to
nothing.
take your-
No, oh, absolutely not. You're my guest. You know, you're my guest, so that's okay.
But I want to go back to that caller earlier
Yes.
before, and you know, she was just, there's something about her I like. I don't know who she is, and I'd love to meet her. And if we do know each other, I'm getting to know a different side of her. She asked about whether or not I would sing about my experience. I thought about it, and it was suggested, and I decided not to. And after this call, I'll explain why.
Right. Wonderful. Hello.
Good evening, Laura.
Hi. Good evening.
This is
What's
Angela.
happening?
Hello, Angela.
Yes. It's Sophie's mom.
Oh, hi, Angela. That Angela.
Yes.
I just pulled up your message. Thank you for calling.
Okay, just to inform you, this is the worst nightmare for any parent. My worst nightmare is when I go into a room. When you look at her clothes, her belongings, her own, it's the worst nightmare for any parent to go through. And I just hope and pray that one day my daughter will get justice.
Absolutely, and we hope for that. And as I promised you over the weekend, I will never stop talking about her. I will always keep her in mind. I think it's, as I said before earlier, I don't have any kids, so I cannot begin to say with any. I do not know how you feel. I have never been there. I hope never to be there. I hope one day that mothers like you will be so few and far in between that it will become again a horrendous act, because I think invariably we're becoming a very desensitized nation when these things happen.
At the moment, I find it very difficult to accept that she's no longer part of my life. It's very difficult.
And knowing that she was your only child.
And I lived for my daughter, everything for her, and I feel empty without her in my life.
I can well imagine.
And it's very difficult every day. I put on a brave face outside, but it's very difficult in the house because she's not there.
You know, I think probably she should contact me. We should do something we should do something.
Well, I have her contact information,
I would love
so
to
we'll
meet with you and
we'll work out something.
we'll see what we could do to never let her be forgotten.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't in St. Lucia when it happened, and I'm not attached to it in terms of when it happened. But when I hear about it, I went to the Division of Gender Relations last week, and if you notice on my phone, I was trying to show it to you earlier on.
Yeah.
I have a list of all the names on my phone. I took a photograph of that purple the purple poster that they have to the front of the reception area, and it's a photo I kept on my phone so I don't forget. And I'll probably show it to our listeners. It's on my phone. I don't want to forget it. And it's sad that it's happening. But I promise you, we will keep in contact, because I will take that number from Laura, and we should do something so she's never forgotten.
And that's a promise that you can take to the bank.
I always keep my promises,
Okay,
especially when it
thank
comes
you
to
very
that. She will never be forgotten, and we will find a way to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Thank you, Laura. God bless.
Thank you so much, Angela. Have a good one.
I'm shaking because I cannot imagine what she's going through.
I don't think any mother understands, any person who aspires to be a mom or loves kids can understand. I think it's one of those situations where you have to be in it, but it's a situation you never want to be in. We have another call. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Solange,
Yes.
I know you're looking at that voice.
Could you
Okay,
just
you
bring
need to
the
kill
volume-
the cat. Kill the cat. You're killing our eardrums. Yes.
Hi.
Solange,
Could you bring the volume down on the car?
work hard, work hard, work hard. But you forgot to mention Jehovah. Because
yes.
God is Alpha and Omega. He is the beginning and the end. And we all have to think about Jehovah. Think about God. As God in Psalm 4 in the Bible, he said, ask of me, ask of me, ask of me. Okay, Solange?
Yes.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Yes. And, you know, it's amazing that, you know, this caller has called and said that. I think I try to be as fair, because be at peace with your God from Desiderata, be at peace with your God, whatever you conceive him to be. And a lot of people are very vocal about their God, and they're very vocal about their religion, and I try not to put it too much out there, because I try to ensure that it remains with me, and that relationship remains with me and my God. I'm not necessarily one who goes to church every Sunday. I'm not flaunting religion. I think it's important, like the caller said, to acknowledge God, and that is such a great point for him to remind us, and I take that reminder very, very appreciatingly.
We have another call. Hello?
Hi, good evening.
Good
Lauren.
evening.
I'm a young mother of one,
Oh boy.
and I also have, it's coincident, it's a daughter. And I'm sitting down there listening to this mother speak, and I just almost burst into tears. I cannot imagine, I cannot begin, or I'm not even trying to imagine what she's going through right now. I sometimes, like your guest said, sit down and try to imagine, like try to prepare myself for if someday something like this were to happen, like she said, you almost not supposed to do that, but still, life has a way of the way that it's
Blindsiding us.
happening, and I cannot begin to imagine. My heart goes out to her, and I just pray that the Heavenly Father will touch her in a special way, and I pray that, He gives her grace, He gives her understanding, because He knows why He allows stuff to happen sometimes. And I hope that you continue to do the work that you're doing, and I would love to see, the exposure of a lot of these things continue, so keep up the good work and do what you have to do to let these things be heard, because it needs to be heard.
Absolutely.
And your caller, I remember when I had my daughter when she was born, I've gotten, this advice from a lot of friends, and I don't know if you've gotten it from as a mother. They say, "Leoni yo ish, pokoni ish," right? And through everybody does things because of whatever situation they're in. Sometimes you could only have one child, or sometimes because of finances, you literally decide, okay, I could only afford one.
Right.
But it's amazing that you mentioned that you try to do it as well, because you hear the stories around you, and it's just you try to prepare, and life blindsides you. And like you said, the anguish that she's feeling now, getting past that is not easy, and there's no timeline to get past it. She will never get over it.
Never.
She will never ever get over it. It's what we as a society have in place to help her get through it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it exactly.
So we don't know what her face looks like. I heard her voice. I don't know what I could have been passing on the street, or you could have passed on the street caller, and not even know it was her. So it's that support system, both for the victim and the relatives.
And that's why I do what I do, because it's amazing the amount of comfort that you can pass on to someone. It's amazing how you can help somebody by just saying something that they never had the courage to say, or just could not get up to saying it. And then you say it. You're not speaking to them directly, but you are. And that's what gives me the courage and the strength to continue doing this, because every time I do a show like this, Solange, and I go out there, even when I try to go incognito, somebody recognizes me. Either they recognize my face, or they recognize my voice, which I didn't think was that distinct. But they recognize my voice, and they'd come up to me and say, "You Laura, aren't you?" And then I would say yes, and they were like, "Your last show, that was for me, thank you." So this is why I do this. And I think this is why I think everybody should care, because you never know when it could be you. You never know.
And it shouldn't be you.
And that's it.
Shouldn't
It
be
should
you.
never be you.
It should not be you. And there is anger associated to stories like that. There is revenge, or there's the ultimate human emotion related to that comes out in certain people. This mother will never get over it, or any mother who faces an incident like that will never get over it. The relatives will not get over it. Time will pass. It may feel like you're getting better, but you'll never get over it. And she, like she said, when she goes into her room, when I travel, if I travel alone, I always have something of my daughter with me. Whether it's I travel with, I have a shirt of mine with her face on it. I travel with it most of the time. Once I go in on a plane, I have my daughter with me, something of hers, to smell, to hold. Her pictures on my phone. So what does she have to hang on to now is only the memory. How can she get over it? We have to put a formula together that is close enough to help them get over it.
And that's one of the things that saddens me. And it's when I conceived of where are they now, I didn't want it to just end at just talking about where are they and to highlight them and never to forget them. But there's so many other underlying issues, such as public defenders. Why is this person, why hasn't he been brought to justice? Why does he not have a lawyer? Legal aid. Survivors a forum where survivors of these kinds of heinous acts, they can go together and share their experiences and find comfort with within one another. They will never get over it, but they can help each other deal with it. There's so many other things. There's psychological problems that can arise out of having experienced something like that. So, yeah, and again, like I said to you earlier, we could take an eternity and never have dealt with everything. And saying this, our time is up. Our time is up already on this show, and we haven't even.
It's disappeared. Our
Yeah,
time.
yeah. The time just went poof, just disappeared. What are your final thoughts about?
I think I'm going to go through everything that we spoke of, a little of everything. When it comes to, incidents against women especially, because you never hear a woman, I mean, it probably will be in defense, but to sit and plot or act on an opportunity like that, it's very seldom that you hear that the victim will be a man, unless it's some form of self-defense or something that happens in anger. It's not something that you hear women sit and plot. It lends a big question, the mental state of our citizenry. There are lots of people walking around that are ill or on the verge of committing acts that will define them, or at least put them in a certain bracket to be considered either being ill or unstable emotionally. It is sad that it's happening. I wish it didn't happen. I am pleading for preventative measures, whether it's through education, through support of people who are dealing with anger issues, issues of self-worth, issues of being rejected, issues of rejection. So they prey on other people because they're rejected by one, or they go to the person who rejected them. I pray that we find some sort of preventative measure or come to something as close to what we call a solution as possible to help minimize or at least eradicate that kind of act within our society or within the St. Lucian context. As of, from a media standpoint, it is our duty to ensure that we communicate, that we explore, that we question, that we remain curious and interested, that we are unafraid to walk the plank, that we remain dutifully charged with that responsibility and hand it out professionally and hand it out without bias, without agenda, that we hand out the information and keep the public dialogue going, keep the messages coming through so we're able to dialogue and question and communicate in order for us to find and always be on a path to a solution. Another platform that we could actually use to ensure that it happens is the Calypso Arena. There's the, how do you call it, there's a particular phrase that I was told that we have as Calypsonians that protects us from, being sued or being, it's a platform for us to keep the dialogue going, to keep the information coming to the people, to keep
because we as West Indians, we like our music and we like partying, and if you can educate using those methods, you bring the message across.
So why you don't like me now speaks from the media perspective. The fact that our media workers and our press and we could now use this as a why you don't like me now. Is it because I'm trying to find the truth? Is it because that I'm giving the information to the people so they could now come ask the questions too?
And that the people can understand that the media workers, the journalists, they're not your enemy.
They're not.
They're there for you.
Because
you find a lot of the times we are so, what's the word I'm looking for? But we're so disenfranchised and we block ourselves and we square ourselves that we don't understand that when I'm speaking out against your party or the government or whatever sect that you belong to, I'm not doing it to hurt you, but I'm doing it to educate you so that you can have a differing point of view. Not that you may change your mind, but that you can understand and have broader perspectives as to what the issues are. But Solange, honestly, I'm going to have to,
Yes.
I'm going to have to invite you over again because we're way out of time, and I know my producer is just rolling his eyes and like, oh God, these girls can talk. Now she's got another one with her. Oh boy, are they ever going? But we will continue. I'll invite you over again,
Thank
and
you
then
very much.
we can finish off this conversation and enter into further dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah.
I invite people on Saturday to the Ambassadors Calypso tent. I'm going to
Put in your little plug there.
Plug here. Saturday night, Ambassadors Calypso tent, 8 p.m. at the National Cultural Center. Come to support the Calypsonians throughout the quarterfinal rounds, all throughout this week. But Saturday, I'll be on stage with the other Calypsonians.
Oh, so you're saying that I have to be there now?
You have to be there. Yes, you have to be there to support. Come support.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
of course, come take in the talent of all the Calypsonians throughout the season, from the quarterfinals into the finals, and hopefully we could have a safe, clean, and enjoyable Carnival 2016.
Well said. Can't add anything more to that, except I'm going to see you right back here next week with another episode of What's Happening Now. Ciao.
You